Before I start today's lecture, I wanted to give you some interesting articles. I wanted to just show you two articles which are there in the internet. Uh, One article is on uh, by Ericsson, and another one is by the University of Hopkins. So I'll show you both. Right. So for the meantime, just wait a second. Yeah. So here you can see on the screen, the first one is that an article by Ericsson. It shows that how can AI and data science help to fight coronavirus, right? So this is a research work which is going on, and it's a data set challenge which is carried out by Ericsson volunteers on this COVID-19 virus. So they're creating a data set for solving this issue of coronavirus. So these are the team members we can see on the screen who are working on this data sets challenge. And what are they are working on with researching with thousands of research papers on this medical field, and they are trying to work on getting works done on this 9 tasks. Okay, so they are dividing the task into subtasks, and they are having volunteers who are working in small teams. And what are the tasks which are doing they are doing on in this process is that what is known about the transmission, incubation, and environmental stability of the patients. So how it is getting transmitted, how are they incubated, and what is the stability of the environment, and what are the risk factors with COVID-19, what are the genetics origin and how does it evolve. All articles about that are getting gathered, and they are trying to analyze that. Okay, and what has been published concerning ethical considerations of research, what do you know about the effectiveness of non-pharmaceutical inventions or interventions, what do you know about the diagnostics or surveillance, what is about the medical core. All these informations have been analyzed, and what do you know about the vaccines and therapeutics of that particular product. So all these things have been gathered, and they are trying to come out with the solution. So each one is working out, and they are coming out with their insights. I'll share you this link uh, in your group, official group, so that you can get an insight about this. So now there was a time when people wanted to have uh, their medical based research as a part of their work. At the same time, now people are coming out with getting the data of the past, present, and trying to provide with futuristic implications in the future. So that is where we are now working on. So this one article was quite inspiring because this is something to deal with the current area of research, wherein people are now trying to get the relevant data regarding this COVID virus and trying to provide you with the futuristic insights. The second one is that, as I told you last class, this is one data set which is called the novel coronavirus 2019 data set. Okay, and it contains the day level information on affected cases in China basically. So what happens is that this is a data set which is developed at John Hopkins University, and they have put up in the repository. So what they do here is that they have some information. So what are the informations which they have here is that I'll show you that. So they have the ID, they have the case in country, and they have the reporting case, the summary, location, country, gender, age, symptoms, and what is their hospital visit date, exposure, when has it started, when has it ended, and is it from Wuhan, what is the death ratio, recovered symptoms, and sources. So if you see the data set, this is a sample data set. You could see here you have the patient ID. Each patient is given an ID in the repository, and you have a large set of articles which have on that. They are collecting a number of cases, and they are putting it up in the case country. So how many cases are there in the country? So totally, if you see there are 1085 values in this data set. So they have taken cases of 1085 patients, and how many patients are there in the country, what is the reporting date, right? So these are all, if you could see here, there are dates right starting from Jan 20th, and it goes up. Then also, what is the summary of the patient. So if you see this first confirmed imported COVID-19 pneumonia patient in Shenzhen, and from Wuhan, male, 66 years of age. He's a Shenzhen resident, visited relatives in Wuhan on 29/12. Symptoms onset on 3/1/2020, and so all the summary of the patient is there. Then you have the location of the patient. Where is he from? Where is he currently situated? And which is the country? Obviously, it's going to be China, right? So, and you also have other details here, right? So we'll see that. What is the gender of the patient? So what is the gender? What is the age of the patient? When is the symptoms started? When is this hospital visit date? When is the exposure which started? They were not able to track it. It's given as null values or NA, and exposure ended date is NA. In some cases, these are all missing values which we have learned earlier. And if you see here, is it from Wuhan? 1 or 0 is the value. So if you see here, there are values 1 and 0. 1 means that they are from Wuhan, and 0 means that they are not from Wuhan. If you could see here, 14% of the values are from Wuhan and 85 are from other places, right? Death, 0 is death is true is 4%, recovered is 85%, and not recovered is 1% here. Symptoms, fever 7%, null, no symptoms is asymptomatic, which is 75%, and thing. And what are the sources of it? They have taken up the website of the Ministry of Health, which is 16%, and there are other sources which are 71%, and from the Chinese government it is 12%. So you can have the thing. So what is this? Basically, is that this is called the Health Commission of Zhejiang Province. That is what is 12%, right? So this, from this data, they'll be able to understand how the patient can be. There is a number of works which are going on, and this data is basically for academic and educational research purposes, and they have taken acknowledgements for this particular data set from different sources, even from the WHO and other places. So what they are trying to build up here is that they are trying to get out the data insights from the past and present on this COVID-19 cases, and they want to find out if there are any patterns which are similar in these patients that would be helpful to give a solution to the problem. Most of the cases, if we see here, the virus spread has been taken out for patients. They say, no, there was an article which said that most of the people who are affected by this virus are male. So that could also be a case wherein people are getting affected. That is one particular choice. Or we can also find a way wherein we can also test if we are able to get the medical history of the patients. For example, patient 1 was given this medicines and this is age and this. If that we are able to get some conclusions with that particular data, we could give some futuristic implication on that particular medicine. For example, as you know, there's one medicine which was very popular called hydroxychloroquine, which was prescribed by America, and this particular country was working on this particular virus. Now, what they have told is that this particular virus is basically for malarial drug. It's basically for malaria, and they wanted to check if this particular virus is going to be useful for this particular drug is effective on these patients. So now they have also found that when they are giving this drug as a alternative for controlling this COVID-19 or coronavirus, they found that the patients also develop other side effects due to this particular thing. So for getting as many number of data we get from the patients, we can analyze that and we can come out with unique or best confluences from the particular data. That is more important, right? So this is what wherein we are working on with this particular data set. This is the first thing. Okay, so today's class we are going to see how this particular system is operating. Earlier, we had still seen so far what are the ways in which we collect the data, how to do data collection for this, how to clean this data, because there are some values which are null, there are values which are empty in the data set, all these things. The next part is that we are going to go ahead with the process called data munging, wherein we are filtering the data which we want, or we are making the data ready as per our convenience for us to process. The next process is that we also learned how to web crawl the data. What is web crawling the data is that how the data can be gathered from different sources. So if you see that there will be, if I want to take how different medias are projecting the data on a day-to-day basis. So I can take the newspapers websites of India, and I can collect or web scrap the data of this virus which is reflected there. So sometimes in some newspapers, for example, if I want to say the number of people who are infected by COVID virus today is 14, okay, and one newspaper may report it as 15, one may report it as 13, depending on their news resources available. So what happens is that I want to standardize this data because it may be 13 or 14 or 15, it depends on the case, but we do not know the exact scenario. So there must be a methodology wherein we standardize this data set and we use it, right? So all these things are possible with data science, right? So now we once we have done with this all these processes, then we know what is our target. So what we are going to do is we are going to give these values into another branch or subset of data science, which is called as machine learning. So machine learning is basically a subset of data science. So we are going to learn the two types of there are actually three types of learning. We are going to learn the first two types. The first one is called supervised learning. Okay, so what is called supervised learning? The next thing we're going to see is called unsupervised learning, and after which, though it is not there, I'll say you something about regression, reinforced learning. Okay, these are the three types of machine learning which we are currently working on, right? So the first thing is called supervised learning. Okay, so what we do is in supervised learning we train the model based on labeled training data, right? Uh, what is this particular concept of training data is that, for example, if I have 100 patients of COVID-19 cases which are there in the data set, right? I want to find out something with that. So what I do is I go ahead and what I do is I first thing which I do is I divide the data set into a ratio of either 70-30 or 80-30, 80-20. So what is that? Is like if I have 100 the data set, I'm going to take 80 values at random for training the system and 20% of the value for testing it. Okay, or it can be 70-30, or depending on the case, we can use it, right? So what is this training? What is this testing? We'll go in the next slide. But now what we are going to do is we are going to we train the model based on labeled training data. As you saw in the data set which I showed you earlier here, or if you see here, this data set is called a labeled data set. What is this labeled data set? Is that if you see that every column has a title, right? It is like from Wuhan, death, recovered, symptoms, and source. These are called the labels of the data set, right? So what happens here is that this is called supervised learning method, okay, wherein I have a data set in which I say this each column is a data, a feature, and I give a label or title to that. So it will be easy for the system to process it, right? And we do two things here in supervised learning. One thing is called regression, and the other one is called classification, right? So what is this regression? What is this classification? If you have to see it, regression is the algorithm which forecast the continuous value, and classification is the algorithms which forecast discrete values, right? So if you want to do any futuristic prediction, for example, if I take what is forecasting mean? When you talk about the term called forecasting, the most common parameter which we use is your weather forecast, right? So I'll take that as an example. So if you want to know whether it will rain tomorrow or what will be the temperature tomorrow thing, so what I'll do is I will take a series of information of the past data. So what are the information I'll take is the current temperature, the humidity, the monsoon information, the temperature. All these values are taken for a period of a long time, and what I can do is I'll take this values because these are all continuous. Monday it's going to be this, the temperature is so much. Tuesday the temperature is so much. Wednesday it's so much. Thursday it's so much. So I have a continuous data. So with that I can use this regression algorithms. Regression algorithms. So there are many algorithms. We'll be learning about it. So we are going to use these algorithms and forecast what will be the temperature which is predicted to be in this. So currently, as of now, the Indian Meteorological Association or any meteorological association is going to it's giving us forecast, a clear forecast for 24 hours, but it also gives you the forecast of a month, but the prediction or the reliability of that data set is very limited as of now. Now we are not able to forecast certain parameters like earthquakes, or we are not able to predict certain things like natural disasters like tsunami and other cases. So if we wanted to, when data is going to be more accurate and we have more efficient algorithms, we'll be able to predict continuous values, right? So this is going to be the first thing. Second thing is called discrete values. So for that we do classification. For example, I have a standard example which I'll be showing you the next slide, wherein we have a case wherein we have uh, a factory. Okay, we'll take an example of a factory, Coca-Cola factory, maybe, or any cool drinks brand from there. So what happens is that this goes through an automation process, right? The factory produces Coca-Cola bottles, and uh, the cool drink is filled into the Coca-Cola bottle automatically. So what happens is that by some time there may be chances that the bottle has some machine parts which are by mistake into the bottle, right? So there may be chances like that. So how to identify that? That is where classification comes in. So I have bottles, maybe like I'll take a sample of 100 bottles, out of which I'm going to take 80 bottles for training and 20 bottles are going to be for testing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check, I'm going to give a label whether the bottle has some parameters, for example, the color information, uh, the level of the liquid which is filled there, then whether there is some machine part which is there in or not. So I'm giving it as, if it's there, I'm giving it as 1. If it's not there, I'm giving it as 0. So what happens is that I'm training to the system. If this is something like this, it is going to be a bottle which is having uh, a machine part, and if not, this is going to be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to train that with 80 bottles. Then the remaining 20, I'm going to test it whether those bottles are predicted correctly. Certain parameters are important here. So the wrong data should not be predicted. For example, a bottle which is very perfect should not be said that it is having a machine part in it. At the same time, a bottle which has machine part in it should not be said that it is perfect, because that may create some issues, right? So all these parameters are to be classified. So we are either classifying as good bottles and bad bottles at the end, right? Same way, take an example of a product, for example, apples. That's what we are going to see. So what we are going to do is we are going to check whether the apple is good or rotten. So that is called a basically classification algorithm. We are not going to classify it. We are going to classify it based on the parameters. So what we do in regression is that we try to find the best function for training the data available, and in classification, with the regression machine algorithm, we attempt to locate the best fit capacity for training information. So what we are going to do is, in regression, we are going to find the best algorithm or the best function which would train the data for providing futuristic insights. At the same time, for classification is used to dissect or take different things in preview. Okay, so I want you to I want you to put up in the chat box something like, I want you to first, this is more important because classifying the data based on either regression or classification algorithms is the first step, important step in machine learning. So what I want you to do now is you can unmute yourself and you can give me the answer now, or you can put up in the chat box. The first thing is that I'll give you different cases, and I want you to say me whether it is regression or classification, right? So the first thing is that power consumption in the city in the upcoming days. It is going to be a regression algorithm or a classification algorithm. power consumption in the city in the upcoming days? It's a regression algorithm. Okay, anybody else? Any other answers? Okay, you can unmute yourself and talk. Right. So power consumption in the city is a regression algorithm. How do you say in the regression algorithm is that, how do we get the data is that we take the earlier data till today, and what we say is that from that data we are going to forecast a futuristic implication. So we are going to say that how it is expected. We are going to see how is the trend which will be there in the futuristic matches. Okay. The next thing, the average score which is going to be scored by Sehwag or Dhoni. Okay, so what is the average score which is going to be scored by Dhoni? It is a regression algorithm or classification algorithm? No, it's not a classification algorithm. Why? Because I'll say you one thing. How do we say whether we do not know next match how much he's going to score, correct? He's going to score something in the past, right? We have his record and we are going to take it. So most of the times we see that we take the past data, and from that data we are going to give a forecast how much is going to get in the next matches, right? So the anything which we are going to guess for the future is going to be the regression algorithm. Anything we are going to do with the present is going to be a classification algorithm, right? So then next case. So I'll give you an example of okay, detecting a face of a person. Is it a regression algorithm or a classification algorithm?
Classification, sir.
Classification, very good, because we already know the people there. We have a training set wherein we have trained the person already, and we are going to give him a futuristic. We are not going to give any futuristic implication. We are going to say whether the person is true or not. Okay, is the right person or not. So for that we use a classification algorithm, right? Okay, then number of crimes in a city is a classification algorithm or a regression. What will be using?
Regression, sir.
Yes.
Regression.
Regression, number of crimes in a city. Okay, number of crimes in a city. When I say it is going to be two things. If you are going, you can have it as a regression algorithm or a classification algorithm, depending on your output, right? For example, I know the past data of how many murders have been happening in the city, right? If I want to know based on that the current data, for example, in this I have two things. I have a case now where, for example, there's a murder which has been happening, and what has happened is that it has been it is like the person has been cut in the hand by a stranger. Okay, this is the pattern. So now if I use a classification algorithm, what will happen is that from the existing data I will find out if there is anybody who does this type of murder in that particular list of criminals. So that is a classification algorithm. Or what is regression is that how many murders will happen in the future based on the current scenario. So that is going to be the thing. Okay, detecting how much patients will be affected, or how many individuals will be affected by coronavirus in the future days.
Regression.
Regression.
Classification, sir.
Regression. Okay, because it is regression because we are going to predict what is going to happen in the future, right? If it is going to be like how many patients have been symptomatic and asymptomatic using coronavirus, how many people have symptoms of coronavirus, how many people have positive coronavirus and have symptoms as positive, and how many are negative. Is it a classification or regression? There are people who have coronavirus. Okay, I am taking them and I want to know whether they
Classification,
have
sir.
classification. Exactly. So I think now I have given you an idea about what is called classification and regression. Classification is something wherein we take a set of patients, and we from that data we are going to get some insights from that data, how we are going to be there. Okay, so that is called classification. Regression is that with the current data we are going to give it something called futuristic insights. This is called as regression, right? So these two terminologies you will be using it throughout your career in data science, because these are very important. Okay, so wherever you go, the first terminology is that generally we deal with this classification or the regression problem, right? So then only we go into it, right? So one more case is that we have a problem of this thing, right? You going on a road and you find that you have certain problems there. So what happens is that when we go on a road, we have something called we use something an app called Google Maps, right? So what is the color information which is there? We have three color informations which are there on the map. What are the three color information?
Blue, red, and orange, sir.
Okay, blue. What is that represents?
Free.
Blue is that the road is free for use.
Faster.
Okay, orange.
Orange is light, mid traffic. Mild traffic.
Okay, mild traffic. Red,
Heavy traffic.
heavy traffic. How does Google know that?
Regression, sir. Depending on the area, how many people have on their GPS, through that they are predicting that, sir.
Okay, but is it classification or regression? Because I wanted to think about it. Because
Classification, sir.
classification. Because
Regression.
current data, it is going to analyze it and it's going to give you the insight now. Okay, if it's going to be like how much is going to be the traffic tomorrow, it is going to be a forecast. Then it is going to be a regression. Okay, so it gives you real-time data. Classification there happens on the real-time data. How does that particular information is gathered by Google? Right? Any idea? How does Google knows that this is the traffic there is mostly now that is perfect, right? So we also get the estimated time. You also get other insights like how the traffic is there. How does Google know this data?
The people who on their GPS, through that it will get the signals, and through that it's calculating.
Exactly. So it is something wherein we do real-time processing, wherein it gets the data from the users and gives back information to the users. So, for example, there are 5 cars which are moving in the same road, right? Which has GPS on, right? So now what will happen is that when 5 people are using this particular GPS and tracking out the data, what basically happens is that all the 5 vehicles not necessarily be on motion. For example, there are car. It's like we can have it as car A, car B, car C, car D, car E, right? And what happens is that the first person, the car A person, what is he do is he gets a phone call. So what he does is that he parks his car in the left side, right? And he's talking. So what is his speed is that his speed is 0 kilometers. But now what happens is that Google should not take it as though that there is heavy traffic on the road, because the road might be empty, but still the person is keeping his car idle for a long time, or maybe 15 minutes. So it doesn't mean that there is stuck, the car is stuck in traffic. So how does it do is that it takes all the inputs from that particular data. For example, it takes the data from A, B, C, D, E, and it takes the average of it. So it finds that the other cars are in motion, but this car is not in motion. So that is one parameter. The second parameter also takes is that what is the general or ideal traffic in that particular road. How does it take it? There is like it takes all the previous data. Day 1, what was the time? How was the traffic? How many? What was the kilometer? Or what is the speed in which people have traveled on the same road in the past days? So with all these informations, it will be able to give you then and there real-time updates on the data, right? And sometimes it also gives you some data based on the current information provided by the users. For example, you can also specify that there's a road blockage in this particular road, or there is some, for example, if an accident happens at one place, so you can mark that in Google Maps and help them. So this process is called reinforced learning, wherein it takes the current information and it provides immediate information. This is called reinforced learning, right? We will be learning that, we'll not be learning that in the curriculum, but still these basics are supervised learning and unsupervised learning. We'll go ahead with this particular thing, right? So next thing. Okay, so here is a block diagram of supervised learning. So what we do here basically is that we have a set of apples which are there, which is our input raw data. So there are apples, and what is the problem which we have to find is that we have to detect whether it's an apple or not, right? So I have it's like a similar case study, you know, we generally say story there. Okay, so what happened is that a group of terrorists wanted to smuggle uh, through a box crate which has been put up into a place wherein it has apples and it has red granates. Okay, both of them look almost the same. So now what happens is that they have been kept in boxes. Now what happens is that I want to find whether it is an apple or it is not an apple, right? So that is where now then only I'll be able to get the right information. So some things have to be very important here. The first thing is that the apple is red, and the granite is also, as I told you, it is red. Okay, but there are chances that the apple is also green, right? That is also a parameter which is there. Also, there are chances that the granite is not red color. They can be painted black also or green also, right? So these are my potential problems. But I need to detect an apple from the given data, okay, of images, or it can be any input image. Input can be images, it can be audio signals, it can be data, it can be anything. Okay, so these are the weather informations, or it can be the a satellite imagery. All this can be the input. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this raw input, which is the input which I have here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to give it into a algorithm. So this algorithm is not specified because what is this algorithm? What is the thing? We are going to try with based on the cases which we are going to do. So basically what I'm doing here is I want to separate, I want to find out whether it's an apple or not an apple, right? So that is going to be a classification algorithm. So we have a number of classification algorithms, and we are going to test with all these algorithms, and we are going to suggest best algorithm which should give me the right results, right? So there are different algorithms. We'll be learning the regression algorithms. The next topic, we'll be learning what are the classification algorithms. So what we'll be doing is we'll be trying out with these algorithms, and we'll be finding out based on this whether it's a regression algorithms or classification algorithms depending on the user. And what we are going to do is we have something called supervisor. We are called the supervisors. So what the supervisors do is the main objective of the supervisor is that they give the training data set, and they have to ensure that we get the desired output. So what this person does is that he tries with all the different algorithms for classification, and he checks out what is the output of individual algorithm, right? So what happens is that we have a data set which is created, and each data set will have a label which is at the top, and we are going to say that this is going to be the parameter, this parameter. For example, what are the I want you to say what are the parameters which you can take from the apple. What are the features which you can take from an apple? What are the features which you can take from an apple, which I can analyze?
Oh,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Yes. Color. Okay, you can take the color. That is one thing. Color is a label. Okay, good. Which a feature. What are the other features which you can take it?
Shape.
Shape. Exactly. Shape. Okay. What else? Can I measure height and width of the apple?
Size.
Exactly. The height, width of the apple that could be taken up. Okay. Then I can also take, to be more precise, where is the distance between the top top H and the bottom end. So I can take that value which is going to be there because I have a depression here and again a depression here. So I can take this difference between the top edge and the bottom edge. That is also possible. So I will take a series of values like this, and what I'll do is I will take this. This is going to be the label. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the color is red, color is green. So based on that, what happens is that you get a data set value. Same way, I measure the width and I say this is the width of the apple A, this is the width of the apple B, C, D, and so on till the end. So this is going to be the label. So we give the labels to the data and we process it. So this is going to be called the supervised learning method. And we go ahead with this called processing. What we do here is that we get these values, we pass it through the algorithms. Algorithms are step by instructions to solve a particular issue. So then we go with processing. What is processing basically is that we analyze this and we get whether this information is going to be perfect, and then we are going to give another input. So here I have an example of a green apple which is given. based on these parameters, I will check. Okay, I'm not going to give the value, the same apples which I have given here. I'm going to give a different apple, and I'm going to test it whether it is going to predict it correctly. I am also going to give here a granite, and I'm going to check it whether it is able to predict that it is not an apple, so that the other is there. So it should not say that when I give it an input as an apple, if it is saying that it is not an apple, then it's wrong. Same way, if I'm giving a granite and it says that it is an apple, then also it is wrong. So it should be able to find the results accurately. So this is where we are working on with supervised learning, right? So this is the first step. This is called supervised learning. Next, we are going to see the next type, which is called as unsupervised learning. What is this unsupervised learning? Is that we don't use labeled data, right? So we do here three components. One is called clustering, the other one is called association, and the third one is called dimensionality detection. So what is unsupervised learning is that I give a set of fruits. Okay, I don't call it now. I'm not saying to the system that I'm going to give you apples. I am giving something to the system. Okay, and what the system does is that it learns by itself, and what happens is that it is going to group or cluster them according to the types. So what in the first case is that I said that I'm going to give an apple, and I said the color. This is the color of the apple is red, blue. The dimensions are this and this, like this. Here, what I do is I give the data, raw input. I'm going to give it to the system, right? I'm not going to say that this is color, this is this parameter, and thing, nothing. Okay, and what the system does is that it is going to learn by itself again and again and again, and what it does is that based on the similarity in the data, for example, it takes the first apple and it finds that the color is red and this is also red. So automatically what it does is that it groups together that data. Then this is one parameter. Then what it does is that in that cluster, this is called the cluster, in that it groups the data based on the size. So what happens is that width and height, it classifies the objects. So maybe like granites width and height may be quite different. The width may be small. So what happens is that it puts into a separate group. So we can find with that which is the one group A and which is group B. So this is going to be the case of clustering. Or we are also finding an association with them, how one object is different from the other. That is called the association property. And we reduce the dimensionality parameters. What is dimensionality reduction? And we have learned already that how to decrease from a larger data set into a smaller data set with limited features. It's going to be called as dimensionality reduction, right? So what we are going to do here is, this is a typical case example of unsupervised learning. So what we do here is that we have input raw data. What is this input raw data? Is that I have apples, bananas, and mangoes, different fruits. Okay, I know this, these are my fruits, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to input raw data into it. What is this input raw data? Is that I'm not going to say that I have given apples, mangoes, and bananas. I'm just going to give this fruits. Okay, and what happens is that the system is going to interpret the data. Okay, so there is no training data set, there is no output. What the system is going to do is it is going to learn through algorithms, clustering, association, and dimensionality reduction algorithms. The system is going to learn by itself. So it finds that the first one is, if you see here, the size of the apple, if you take the color of the apple, it's red, here it's yellow, and it is again dark yellow. Okay, so there's a difference in that. If you take the width of it, the apple is going to be of this stipulated width and height, or within this range, and the banana is going to be of a stipulated width and range, and that of mango is going to be different. So what we are going to do is we are going to analyze this information based on this particular value. The system is going to learn by itself. We are not going to say that this is the height, this is the width, this is the color, and nothing like that. The system has to learn by itself. So it doesn't know the first one is an apple, it is mango, and it is banana, and we do the processing of it, and the system has to classify it based on apple, bananas, and mangoes as a cluster. Okay, so after this we say that this cluster is called apple, this is called mango, and this is called banana at the end. Okay, I'll give you a real-time example of how real this unsupervised learning works, right? So supervised learning is like uh, we being our as a kids, you know, when we were kids, if we want to learn this concept of colors, right? So when we wanted to learn this concept of colors, okay, your mother used to teach you this is red, this is yellow, this is green. So based on what she is telling you, you have learned that it is called red, this is called green, and this is called yellow. So now what happened is that this is called supervised learning, wherein there was a person who was giving you the insights about how the data has to be classified or how the data has been categorized, right? So based on that, then they ask you like, where is red, what is this color of this particular thing. Maybe they show you a ink bottle or something, a red ink bottle, and say what color is this, and immediately you identify it as red. So that is called supervised learning. Okay, I take the case of unsupervised learning. What is unsupervised learning is that you learn by yourself. Take the case of a primitive man who does not know what is education, or they don't even talk. So what happens is that he takes a value. Okay, he looks at a particular thing, entity, and he looks at it, analyzes it, and he finds that this particular object is similar to that of a other object. For example, a fire is looking to that of another fire. Okay, and you have water there in the falls, there's the water which is going here. So he was able to compare this, and he was able to classify it as this is called water. So this is called unsupervised learning. The system doesn't know what is that. It understands from that of the experience which is going to be getting it from that particular system. This is called unsupervised learning. So where is supervised learning used? Where is unsupervised learning used? When you know the data which is perfect, and you know what is the feature which is going to be required for that particular processing, we go with supervised learning. When we do not know what is going to be the data, we go with unsupervised learning. How to extract the features, we go with unsupervised learning. But supervised learning, what we do is we are trained the system, so the trained system will be more confident of what we are going to get it, right? But in the other case, what happens is that in unsupervised learning, the system does not sometimes learn positively. Take a case wherein I give two inputs. One is a bowl of milk, and the other is a bowl of phenol, right? And what happens is that when the system learns by itself, it thinks that both are white in color, both looks the same, and both are the same. Sometimes there are possible, right? Because we have kept in the same container and both looks the same. Unless and until we smell it, we will not be able to know whether it's a phenol or a milk, right? Or based on it. But so now what happens is that in such systems, there's a possibility that the system may give you wrong information if we are not labeling the data. So it's always advisable to go with this process, whether it's supervised or unsupervised, based on the project which we are working on. So this is more important. If you are working with the data and we have enough inputs, then we go with supervised. Else, sometimes we go with unsupervised data if you are not able to track down the necessary features from the data, right? So this will give you an insight about how we can classify this data based on, or we can provide you with other data. So I'll give you one sample of the data which I have here. I'll show you now. So can you see what is this? Can you identify anything? Is it anything is clear? Right. So actually, what you have here is basically images of cars. That is what is given here. Okay. Or this is something which is hidden, right? So what you see here is basically car images. I think it is very dull there. Okay. I think this, and this. All these are images of the same car. We are working on for a project, and this is all images from there. Okay, we could see this image one of a car which has the number plate CLF 2085. This is another image. This is another image, right? Same way here, 1, 2, 3, right? If you see here, the images are not clear at certain places and certain places very dull, right? So these are all taken from toll gates in Texas, okay, and if you see here, the number plates are here. So now when I take this data set like this, okay, now what happens is that processing this image is quite, I have 3 images for each thing. We are working on a project which we are doing it for a foreign based company. And what we are trying to do is we wanted to find the number plate detection of this number plates. And as you can see here, what happens here is that there are data sets. There's like a very large data set around. There are 5,267 day images. This is like day images. I have different categories of images. For example, I have a clear, cloudy, fog, rain, storms, and for each of this, I have day and night images. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just give you a classification of how the number plates are going to be there. So if you can see here, yeah. So right, I'll show. Yeah. Yes. So if you could see here, this is the number plate of the car, and unlike India, the number plates are here in Texas are quite different. What is the difference is that if you could see in this particular car, there's something called as a number which is there, LVD 0820, and you also have something which could also be written there. The person has written, he's the instructor, and he has also written something here. I do not know what is that, which is written here at the top. And here you have the Texas, which is the state name, right? So this is the case of this particular car. And then you have another car which is here. If you see here, this is here again, March 23rd, 2013. Some date is written there, and 61690P6. This is the name of the car. So you don't have, unlike India, they don't have follow a specific pattern in the number plates. And also, if you see there, there are some written text also there, and which is also possible, right? And also, okay, this is what I showed you already, right here. And this is again another number plate which you have here. So what is there is the Texas, and you have some symbols here, which is star symbol, which is put up there, and it's a combination. They don't follow particular pattern in the number plate. They don't have a particular font in that number plate and font styling in that. So they can have different styling, as you can see in different cars here. And so now what they have a problem is that they wanted to create a system which is efficient of detecting this number plates. So they wanted to do this. So this particular company is working on creating this particular task, and what they found is that they were not able to get the required efficiency in the output. They were able to detect down the number plates, but what physical problems they were finding is that they had number plates which were real number plates, and number plates which were also like they were text. Whatever the text was there is like people had written. For example, in India, you know, we write it dad's gift, mom's gift, okay, all these things. No, the same thing could also be detected, right? So that was one problem which he had. And so now what happens is that here we are classifying it whether it's a number plate or a not a number plate. Then we classify the number plate. We're not going to give any futuristic implication on that, right? We are going to classify it. So there is going to be a classification problem. So in that case, what we are going to do is we are going to train that system with all the number plates which we have already. We are going to check whether all the numbers are going to be efficiently captured, and we are going to give a new set of data to that, and we are going to check the efficiency. For doing this, which method is useful, either supervised or unsupervised, it depends on the case, right? So they had dealt here with unsupervised learning methods, and what was the problem is that they were not able to get the required results. So now what we are doing is we have given some pre-processing steps. What we are basically doing is that we are improving the quality of the image, and after that we are going to give that values to the image. Okay, so they have already done it with unsupervised learning method. So what we are going to do is we are improving the quality of the initial images, and we are making it partially supervised, but still we are giving out with the same data. So this is how we are working on with this particular data, and we are trying to help them out. Okay, so basically what we are doing here is that we have a system wherein we can classify it. Based on this, the system will automatically do it. It is called unsupervised, and supervised is that we give the steps. So if you see here, this is why, as I told you, what is the three areas are supervised, unsupervised, and reinforced learning. Supervised is that we tell to the system that this is going to be the input, and these are the labels which are going to be there, and we are going to do two operations. Either it is going to be classification or regression. Some of the classification problems are identify fraud detection. So whether the person is committing fraud or not, or you classify the images. So as I gave you an example, it's a classification problem which I now showed you. This thing is called customer retention. How long a person is on a particular video, that is called customer retention. Even YouTube provides you the customer retention values, so that is going to be a classification problem. Or if you want to diagnose some patient whether he is affected by COVID or not, or if he is affected by diabetes or not, that classification we are going to go with classification for the classification model, which is basically supervised learning. In regression, anything which is going to be futuristic. For example, you see the advertising popularity prediction. Prediction means that how is it going to be in the future. Weather forecasting, that is again going to be there. I have almost come to the end. Okay, market forecasting, that is again going to be the end, right? So here, unsupervised learning, we also have two things, which is called clustering and dimensional detection. We'll be learning all this thing. We have learned this already, how to compress it, visualization, structure discovery, feature elimination, all these things. Same way, clustering, we have recommender systems and targeted marketing. All these are grouping the people based uh, on similarities. It is going to be unsupervised. And reinforced learning, we have seen real-time decisions, robot navigation, game AI, skill acquisition. All these are going to be called the reinforced. So all these are the three different types of machine learning, and we are going to go with this regression concept from the next class. I think I have given you just an introduction to this particular concept called regression, what is called the machine learning process. Next class we'll be learning about uh, how to go with regression, what are the different types of regression models, and then we'll be taking a real-time classification problem of handwriting classification, and with that we'll be winding up this thing. Thanks for your cooperation. We'll meet again tomorrow in the next class. Thank you so much, guys.